Donny Osmond became a celebrity before he was in first grade.
I had no idea the millions and millions of people watching on the other side of the camera.
Donny endured the rigors of show business.
Oh, we made him work. We made him work just as hard as we did. And he didn't like it any more than we did.
But he also enjoyed the perks that came with the job.
This showgirl, who basically had nothing on, comes and she starts, what I thought, posing in front of me.
Osmond paid a high price for early stardom.
I said, but I'm a rock and roller. She said, no, you're not. And it was so hard to shed that image.
In the next hour, we will profile the life and career of Donny Osmond.
He wanted desperately to say, I've matured. Give me a break. I'm not the kid you used to know.
We'll hear from those who know him best, his brothers.
When I say the night he went down, the night he couldn't do anything. He was literally caught in his nightmare.
His colleagues.
Basically called me a big old pig, Don.
I didn't
Kind of hurt my feelings a little bit.
Afterwards, he was very apologetic. He said he was sorry. He sent me flowers.
He knows his stuff. I mean, he is a theatre and film animal.
And, of course, his sister Marie.
I love working with him. It's been very hard.
Through all the highs and lows, this pop icon has persevered.
This little girl turned to her friend and said, Donny Osmond, is he still alive? Well, that puts it in perspective.
This is Donny Osmond, Celebrity Profile. Donald Clark Osmond was born in Utah on December 9, 1957. Donny was the seventh son of devout Mormon parents, George and Olive Osmond. George was a successful real estate broker, Olive a homemaker.
My earliest memory of my parents would be in Ogden, Utah. They'd be playing in a sandbox. That was my world. I loved that sandbox.
Donny was raised in a strict but loving household.
And I'd always look up at the window and there's my mother. She was always very nurturing, still is. And my father, to a certain extent, I was always a little afraid of my father because don't cross father because you'll get disciplined.
Osmond wasn't the baby of the family for long. Donny was just 22 months old when his sister, Marie, was born in October 1959.
The sister is born. Oh boy. That was my memory of Marie.
By the time Marie joined the family, 4 of Donny's older brothers were already performing locally in a popular barbershop quartet. Their travels often left the 2 youngest Osmonds alone with their mother.
She must have been 1 or 2 because we would play for hours and hours. Marie and I had a relationship, a great relationship.
In early 1962, the actions of a proud grandparent changed the lives of the musically gifted Osmond family. Brother Wayne Osmond.
Our grandfather Davis really believed in us as we were just little kids, and so he had this little, well, kinescope, I guess, made back in those days of us, and he sent it to Lawrence Welk. And Lawrence Welk, I guess, liked it, and he invited us down.
Orchestra leader Lawrence Welk hosted a wildly popular TV variety show that featured another set of singing siblings, the Lennon sisters.
They drove all the way down from Utah to see him, and apparently he was busy or something, it didn't work out, and rather than it be a loss, my father took my brothers to Disneyland.
The Osmonds discovered that dreams really do come true in the Magic Kingdom.
This quartet was singing on the streets of Disneyland, the Dapper Dans, and they saw us, and they said, well, hey, you guys are all dressed alike, what do you do? And we said, we're a barbershop quartet like you guys. So we sang a song, they sang a song, back and forth. A lot of people gathered around.
A talent executive for Walt Disney happened to be in the crowd.
And that's where it all happened with Walt Disney. They auditioned for him, and eventually they were on a few Walt Disney shows, and that's where Andy Williams' father saw my brothers, had them audition for Andy, and as they say, the rest is history.
The quartet performed on the Andy Williams Show twice in December 1962. The response to the Osmond brothers was overwhelming, and they were offered a 5-year contract to appear on Williams' show. the family packed up everything and moved to Los Angeles.
My memories of when we moved to California from Utah is just spending a lot of time with Marie, just playing in the backyard.
When he wasn't playing, Donny dazzled his captive audience with his singing. Andy Williams heard about the performances. On December 10, 1963, Donny made his first national television appearance.
Donny came along, and we wanted to find something for him to do that would be funny. It was certainly one of the best performances of his doing this jazz version of You Are My Sunshine. Little teeny kid, it was really funny.
You are my sunshine, you make me happy when skies are gray. You never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away.
The 6-year-old seemed amazingly poised.
I didn't really know how many people were watching, just the couple hundred people that were in the studio. And I had no idea the millions and millions of people watching on the other side of the camera.
The viewers fell in love with the adorable crooner. Donny joined the Osmond Brothers group and became a regular on Andy's show. His peaceful life at home, which now included newborn brother Jimmy, was a thing of the past.
And that all changed when I started touring with the brothers, because then I would be in the rehearsal hall most of those afternoons, most of the time, and just spending hours and hours rehearsing. And my life changed at that point.
Coming up,
you're never good enough for yourself or for anybody else. So it destroyed me in many, many, many ways.
In January 1964, 6-year-old Donny Osmond became the youngest member of the Osmond Brothers singing group. The Barbershop Quartet, a regular act on Andy Williams' weekly variety show, was now a quintet. The adjustment wasn't easy for any of the Osmonds, including older brother Jay.
It was a little foreign to us, to have a fifth brother, because we were all so in sync, so it was different. It was very different.
The grind of a weekly TV show and the grueling rehearsals, especially the complex dance routines, were difficult for Donny.
It was on-the-job training for me. My brothers, they went through dance class and all this kind of stuff with Nick Castle and all these wonderful choreographers on the Andy Williams show. Well, Donny, come join us. Thanks a lot. I mean, I had no experience in dancing, and I had to keep up with him.
Oh, we made him work. We made him work just as hard as we did, and he didn't like it any more than we did.
All of the boys were perfectionists and wanted to be known as one-take Osmonds. They were always prepared, always would come ready to do one take and get it done.
By the age of 7, Donny was already a show business veteran, and he was ready to quit. In 1965, the brothers toured Sweden during their summer break from the Andy Williams show. Osmond took action.
I wrote a letter back to my mother, and I didn't tell my father what was in the letter, but in the letter I said, I want out. Please come and get me.
I remember telling Father that he wrote a letter to Mother.
What's my father going to do? Put me on a plane, cancel the tour? There's nothing he could have done. So I got reprimanded severely about that letter.
So Donny learned, I think after the Sweden trip, that, I think I'm going to join the brothers this time for real.
It was always a little bit of a thorn in my side that this poor little kid who just wants out was trapped. There was no way to get out of it.
As the 60s progressed, the Osmond brothers decided to try their hand at rock and roll.
Donny started playing the piano. They said, that's a good idea, and within 6 months they were playing, piano, bass, drums, guitar. Jay was on the drums. They can do just about anything.
During breaks from the TV show, the Osmond brothers appeared in the casino showrooms of Las Vegas, opening for acts including Phyllis Diller and Shirley Bassey.
I was probably 10, maybe 10 years old, something like that. This was before the whole record thing happened. I was at the Sahara, and I'm backstage waiting for my cue to go on stage with my brothers.
Donny wasn't alone for long.
And this showgirl, who basically had nothing on, comes and she starts, what I thought, posing in front of me. She's like performing for me. I'm just every shade of red you can imagine. And I don't know what to do. And because she's fixing herself and all this kind of stuff, and finally I realized there's a mirror that I said, oh, she was just fixing herself. and I went to that mirror every show.
In May 1967, the Osmond brothers left the Andy Williams Show after 5 seasons to pursue a recording career.
We recorded on Uni Records, and we did this song called Moving Along. Hit the charts with an anchor. It was so bad. We thought, man, did we make a mistake.
Their recording career at a standstill, the Osmonds returned to weekly television.
Around 1968-69, we did the Jerry Lewis Show. He had his own variety show.
But the Jerry Lewis Show was canceled in the spring of 1969. The Osmond brothers continued their lucrative appearances in casino showrooms. By early 1970, the brothers felt trapped. They were a rock group without a hit record.
Then Mike Curb came along. He came into our lives.
Mike Curb was the president of MGM Records.
He talked to a friend of his, Rick Hall, in Muscle Shoals, Alabama, Fame Recording Studios.
Record producer Rick Hall was famous for launching the recording careers of R&B legends Otis Redding, Aretha Franklin, and Wilson Pickett. Curb convinced Hall to produce the Osmonds' next album.
We flew back to Muscle Shoals, Alabama. He played us a few songs, One Bad Apple being one of those songs. And we recorded it and changed our lives completely.
One Bad Apple had been written for the Jackson 5, but was rejected by Motown chief Berry Gordy. Hall thought the song was perfect for the Osmonds, but only for 1 or 2 lead singers. The days of barbershop 5-part harmonies were over.
So many of us tried the lead vocals like on One Bad Apple. It just seemed that Meryl's voice blended with my voice so much.
Meryl and Donny moved to the front of the band, and Hall's funky production values gave the brothers a soulful new sound. American Bandstand host Dick Clark.
Mike Curb called me and said, I have this great group, will you put them on American Bandstand? And they came in these sort of Elvis-like costumes with lots of stuff. They were phenomenal.
One Bad Apple climbed the pop and rhythm and blues charts.
People don't realize the Osmonds were taken very seriously. They were just, light and fluffy.
In the spring of 1971, One Bad Apple went to #1. Within months, the Osmond brothers had 2 more hit singles and a worldwide following. Brother Wayne Osmond.
It was unbelievable. I mean, over here in the United States, it was great, crazy as could be, but it was absolutely phenomenal over in Europe.
The Osmond success did little to reduce the pressure that 13-year-old Donny placed on himself. Sister Marie Osmond.
We were known as one-take Osmonds. And I think in his case, maybe that was part of the fear is, you had one shot to get everything right.
So you're constantly beating yourself up because you can't reach it. And that's a very dangerous position to be in because you're never good enough for yourself or for anybody else. So it destroyed me in many, many, many ways.
Coming up.
Every single one of us were just deathly ill.
In June 1971, 13-year-old Donny Osmond and his brothers were international rock stars. Rosie O'Donnell was a teenage fan.
They were wholesome and, white middle America. They were sort of the perfectly ivory-scrubbed, loofah'd children.
By December of that year, the Osmond brothers sold more than 11 million records. That month, they recorded what would become their biggest-selling album. But a secret lay behind its success.
It was a live concert at the Forum here in Los Angeles. And we woke up that morning, every single one of us were just deathly ill.
For the one-take Osmonds, the results were disappointing.
Afterwards, we took the tapes into the studio and it was a disaster. It was just pathetic. And we re-recorded the vocals and nobody ever knew. The best-selling album we had.
For the Osmond brothers' next album, the president of MGM Records, Mike Curb, suggested a new song titled Sweet and Innocent. The older brothers believed that the lyrics were too bubblegum for their rocker image. Undaunted, Curb asked Donny to record the song as part of a solo album. The single soared to #7. The follow-up, Go Away Little Girl, hit #1, and Donny became even more of a teen heartthrob. In early 1972, 14-year-old Donny Osmond was at work on a new Osmond Brothers record.
I thought we were going to be rehearsing that day for an upcoming album or whatever. I was just there with the brothers. And Mike handed me this sheet music and a tape of Paul Anka's song called Puppy Love.
As usual, Donny was a quick study.
And I recorded Puppy Love live with this big orchestra. And I did maybe 2 or 3 takes. And that changed my life.
And they called it puppy love. Oh, I guess they'll never know.
In March 1972, Puppy Love peaked at number 3 in the United States and topped charts worldwide. The international success of the song transformed the lives of all of the Osmond brothers. Merrill Osmond.
We were writing and having smash records worldwide. And so when Donny came along doing Puppy Love, it just shattered everything we were trying to do.
Donny's single Puppy Love was certified gold in spring 1972. The Osmond brothers earned more gold records in 1972 than any other recording act. But Donny's solo success with sugar-coated ballads eventually alienated the brothers' rock music fans. Donny's career continued to soar. Still, fame did little to lessen Donny's fear of failure.
I'd hit the stage, and once the show started, and the screams were happening, and the music was going, and I started singing, everything was fine. If I made a mistake on stage, oof, that was another story. I'd fall into this panic mode again, because I wasn't giving a perfect performance.
Not all of Donny's pressure to be perfect came from within.
When I make a mistake, my brothers let me know it on stage. They'd kind of poke me in the back a little bit. Hated it. Hated it.
In 1973, the Osmond brothers released their new album, The Plan. The record spawned 2 hits, but for the first time in 3 years, an Osmond brothers record failed to go gold. 15-year-old Donny, meanwhile, released 4 hit solo singles.
Donny was one of the guys I had thumbtacked to my bedroom wall. He and Davy Jones and David Cassidy were the 3 dreamy guys of every young girl.
Sister Marie Osmond.
I would be at the concerts, and I saw all of this. It was really an interesting phenomenon, and that's exactly what it was.
In the fall of 1973, 13-year-old Marie joined the family act. Before going on tour, Marie cut her first record, a remake of the country classic, Paper Roses.
The manager at the time kept saying, yeah, your record's climbing the charts. And I go, get out of here. And finally we came into Madison Square Gardens, and they said, your record's number 1.
In 1974, Donny and Marie's solo careers heated up as the popularity of the Osmond brothers group chilled. A very personal development for Donny led to yet another career twist.
His voice changed, and they needed someone to throw on a harmony, and I was the closest thing at hand.
Donny had recorded the lead vocal for a new song before going on tour. When he returned, the higher harmony part was out of his range.
I went down and did it. Sincerely, all I truly remember is that it was like, okay, now you guys are going to record together. And I was like, okay.
That song was I'm Leaving It All Up to You. Donny and Marie's voices blended together so well that a duet album was quickly recorded and released. The title song soared to number 4 on the pop charts in the fall of 1974. The pair hit the road to promote the new record and their new act.
Mike Douglas, when he had his variety show in Philadelphia, he asked Marie and myself to co-host, as he did with a lot of guest stars back in those days. So Marie and I did a week's worth of shows, and it just so happened that Freddie Silverman, who was president of ABC at the time, saw one of the episodes.
Silverman was charmed by the playful banter between the teenage siblings.
He said, you know what, that'd be a great variety show. And called our manager up and said, would you guys be willing to do a pilot?
Coming up.
I saw him suffering, and I can't stand that.
And later.
It really humbled us, and it brought us back down to earth.
The Donny and Marie Show debuted on January 16, 1976. 18-year-old Donny and 16-year-old Marie became the youngest hosts of a weekly variety show. The series enchanted audiences and landed in the Nielsen Top 10, but the victory was bittersweet.
It was a little awkward for me because the brothers paved the way. They put forth the dues in the 60s, and they were with me in the 70s. We all worked very, very hard. But now, 76 rolls around, and Donny and Marie are in the front.
While the siblings seemed very similar on camera, that wasn't the case backstage.
I was kind of, if he were upset or something on the original Donny Marie show, he'd go in his dressing room and be really upset, and I'd go out and, hey, come on, let's fix this.
Donny's old nemesis, perfectionism, followed him to the TV show.
The panic attacks would build and build to the point where I hid it. I concealed it. I just didn't let anybody know what was going on. I just forged ahead.
I saw him suffering, and I can't stand that. I can't stand to see somebody not happy.
By the end of the show's first season in May 1976, Donny Osmond was adored by millions of teenage girls worldwide. Yet he was still alone.
But it was also a very lonely time because it was a peripheral thing. It was what happened to me when I was on stage. Then I'd get off stage and I'd be by myself.
Osmond's personal life was about to change.
I was dating this girl named Tammy Dobson at the time, and I was enamored by this girl. I was in love with her, and my brother Jay was dating this girl named Debbie Glenn.
Brother Jay Osmond.
I could see that Debbie really had an eye for Donny, and I could see that Tammy had an eye for me.
About a month later, we switched. Jay took out Tammy, and I took out Debbie.
There was magic, there was chemistry between those two. There really was.
Donny finally met his match, but no one could know.
We dated anonymously because the rumors started getting out that Donny's dating somebody seriously. My father was adamantly against that. He said, you can't do that.
Osmond took the risk and secretly courted 16-year-old Debbie Glenn. Meanwhile, the TV series brought Donny and Marie a new level of fame.
That was a worldwide show. We toured places I never knew existed, and we hopped off the plane, and these thousands of people would be screaming our names. I said, how do you know us, The power of television is unbelievable.
Pitch, patch, pong!
Together, Donny and Marie were successful television and recording stars. But Donny's solo recording career came to a standstill.
I decided I've got to change my image. And so I called the album Donald Clark Osmond. I was really proud of the album. It was my favorite stuff that I'd recorded at the time, up to that point. But it didn't work.
By the third season, the Osmonds grew tired of life in Los Angeles. The family financed and built their own state-of-the-art television studio in Orem, Utah. In November 1977, the first episode of Donny and Marie was taped at the facility. By early 1978, 20-year-old Donny was trapped by his own success. Unable to publicly date his longtime girlfriend, Debbie Glenn, he collapsed from the stress.
We had dated now about 2 to 3 years. I could tell her anything. Couldn't tell the world that I was dating her. And I had a breakdown.
He just poured his heart out to me, and just tears, and oh man, it was hard. He had every kind of opportunity to do movies or records or to marry Debbie.
Olive Osmond realized that her son was in pain.
And I said, but what will my father say? I can't tell my father. And she gave me some great advice. She says, if you're not man enough to ask permission from your father, then you're not man enough to get married. I marched right in and asked him.
Donny's father approved of the marriage. The ceremony, however, had to wait. Donny and Marie were about to become movie stars.
Going Coconuts, what an epic. Not.
Brother Merrill Osmond.
Well, that was the worst film I've ever seen in my life. Well, it was one of those rare projects that all of us had our hands into a little bit.
The film was a critical and financial disaster, but the professional setback didn't interfere with Donny's personal happiness. On May 8, 1978, Donny and Debbie were married at the Mormon Temple in Salt Lake City. Donny's fans were stunned.
Concerts were canceled because there were so many people returning their tickets. It was a more innocent era of the teen idol scene, where girls were sobbing and crying.
It really hit the fan, as they say. And at that point, I started getting letters from, hundreds and hundreds of letters from fans saying we're holding Donny Osmond record burning parties.
The Donny and Marie show limped into its fourth season in the fall of 1978. In a last-ditch attempt to save the series, it was renamed The Osmond Family Show, but the change didn't help. The show aired for the final time on May 16, 1979.
I was 21 years old. That's when the Donny and Marie show ended, the former one. Then my career didn't go anywhere. This image stuck with me, the Donny Osmond image, the goody-goody thing.
Coming up.
He wanted desperately to say, I've matured, give me a break.
And later,
she turns to me, she says, what's wrong? For the first time, I realized, I'm naked up here!
The final episode of the Donny and Marie Show aired in May 1979. The cancellation brought financial woes and career crises.
I have to say honestly that after the original Donny and Marie Show, we all have really hard times.
By 1979, the cost of keeping the Osmond empire afloat skyrocketed. Brother Jimmy Osmond.
We had companies in, 5, 6 different states, and we had the largest commercial production company at the time, and we were just going wild.
The businesses failed, and the family lost a reported $30 million. Those losses included the TV studio in Orem, Utah. Nevertheless, Donny's personal fortunes reached a high point on July 31, 1979, when Debbie gave birth to Donald Clark Osmond, Jr.
I remember when my first son was born. It was the greatest feeling of my life. It was just like, nothing can get better than that.
Career-wise, the future looked bleak.
It was a very difficult time in my life when the Donny and Marie show ended. And everybody got behind Marie and kind of put this enormous thrust behind her.
Donny may have felt that the family focused in on Marie's career. I don't believe that. I don't think that was the case.
I was left on my own, with my own devices, holding the reins, and I had to make something of my career. The first decision I made was I'm going to go to Broadway.
On March 22, 1982, 24-year-old Donny Osmond made his Broadway stage debut in the revival of a 1904 musical by George M. Cohan.
Little Johnny Jones for Donny was one of the great learning curves of his career and his life, because he had a lot of things going for him, and a lot of people banked on it and put a lot of money into it, and boy, when it closed the next day, it just deflated everything out of him.
Meanwhile, Marie was rebounding.
I remember having my first #1 record again after the original show, and I almost felt bad because Donny couldn't get arrested.
Marie's career was flourishing, and she was having hit records, but there was still this demand to have Donny and Marie perform.
Throughout the early 1980s, Donny and Marie appeared at concerts across the country. This time, the situation was different from the TV series. Marie was the star.
But it didn't work, and the demand got greater and greater for Marie to do her own gigs. At that point in time, I thought, back off, back off. It's the end of Donny and Marie.
I think that we both needed that break from the Donny and Marie duo.
In 1984, 26-year-old Donny tried to reinvent himself. He changed his hair and his wardrobe and became a fixture at Hollywood parties. Family and friends were overwhelmed.
I said, but I'm a rock and roller. I said, no, you're not. And it was so hard to shed that image, and I tried way too hard. I look back and I kind of laugh at some of the things I used to wear and the attitude that I had, and my family put up with a lot.
In an effort to jumpstart his career, Donny performed with up-and-coming artists, musician and friend Dweezil Zappa.
I met Donny when I asked him to sing on a song. I was really impressed with his singing. I mean, I knew he was good, but I didn't know how good till you get him in the studio, and he's like, one take for everything.
Dweezil appreciated Donny's ability. He also understood how fickle fans could be.
I just think that they probably wrote him off as not having any particular skill or talent. They just thought, oh, he's like the teen, fluff guy or whatever.
Donny struggled to overcome his old image. Osmond parodied himself in a 1985 music video starring friend and legendary guitarist Jeff Beck.
Name?
Donny Osmond.
What have you done lately?
The following year, Donny and veteran rocker Peter Gabriel met while performing at a UNICEF fundraiser. Gabriel helped Donny secure a new recording contract in London. Although 2 singles from the 1987 album made the British charts, Donny was dropped by his record label. Osmond returned to Utah in December 1988, convinced that his career was over.
Soldier of Love was just like a mediocre hit over in England. An import copy came into the United States and went to PLJ in New York, which was the #1 station in the world, really, for pop music.
The radio station began playing the song in heavy rotation.
And my manager at the time, Bill Waite, he called me, and I was up in Utah, and he said, you got a hit record on your hands. And I said, what? And he said, no. Problem is, they're not telling anybody who it is. They don't want to admit that they're playing Donny Osmond music. They're just testing it, and it's now one of the top requested records of New York City. Here's the rub. They want you to come in and reveal yourself. And I thought, I don't know if I want to kill the requests.
Hi, this is Donny Osmond on your Concert Connection, 95.5 PLJ.
But I did, and just the opposite thing happened. The lights lit up like crazy, and all across the country, radio stations did the same thing. I was known as the mystery artist across the United States.
Donny signed a recording contract with Capitol Records, and the album, Donny Osmond, was released. His family and friends were happy and relieved.
I was so thrilled because I knew he'd been working so hard. He wanted desperately to say, I've matured, give me a break. I'm not the kid you used to know.
Another hit, Sacred Emotion, followed Soldier of Love. Osmond felt strong enough to face a past failure.
I said, I want to go back on stage and be vindicated for what happened in 1982 on Broadway. Crystal Bernard was a friend of mine at the time, and she was going to a place called the Beverly Hills Playhouse under the auspices of Milton Katselas, who is a brilliant man, and he put me in a crash course.
Acting coach Milton Katselas.
He's a wonderful singer, and he's very talented, but he's been asked to do a certain thing. But there's much more that he can do. That I discovered in working with him.
He put me in 3 different classes, beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And it was overwhelming. They put me through the ringer.
He grew in the sense that he relaxed more, and he was freer, a little freer in what he was doing and in his delivery, and allowed, I think, his personality to come through even more.
Coming up.
That had to hurt. He's hairy.
In the spring of 1992, 34-year-old Donny Osmond had revitalized his recording career with a hit album and restored his faith in his acting abilities. Osmond auditioned for the lead role in the revival of the Andrew Lloyd Webber musical, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
He's a great lad, old Donny. He's very professional, extraordinarily professional in every way.
In June 1992, Donny debuted in the demanding role of Joseph at the Elgin Theatre in Toronto, Canada.
And the one thing about him, you see, which he has got, which some of the other Josephs have not had, is that he's got a bit of authority. He actually is surprisingly commanding.
The character's costume, or lack of one, posed a couple of problems for Donny.
I have to commend him for waxing his back. That had to hurt. He's hairy. He's a macho guy.
I'm doing this move at the end of Act 1, and my narrator, Janet Metz, she turns to me, she says, "What's wrong?" For the first time, I realized, I'm naked up here!
Donny's electric performance was lauded by critics and audiences. Unfortunately, the adulation brought back an old enemy.
I was getting great reviews. The place was sold out almost every single show. They expected the perfect performance, and I couldn't give it.
Donny secretly suffered through bouts of crippling self-doubt throughout the run of the musical. Still, he became the longest-running Joseph ever, nearly 2,000 performances.
But he obviously has got a tremendous grit there, really, and he's a stayer, and he's a true pro. He knows his stuff. I mean, he is a theatre and film animal.
The stress from Osmond's perfect performances on stage affected his life outside the theater.
I was asked by the Disney organization to audition for this movie called Hercules that they were making. And, you know, I was still suffering from panic attacks. And I show up and there's Alan Menken, all the producers there at this audition in New York City, and I freeze.
During most of the run of Joseph, Donny was able to keep his attacks a secret.
Donny is a very typical male in the sense that he keeps things inside more. And so maybe that was part of the, you know, anxiety.
Finally, after breaking a string of box office records, Donny broke down.
It wasn't until 4 years later of doing Joseph almost every night, every week, that I hit rock bottom.
Donny and I talked on the telephone the night he went down. When I say the night he went down, the night he couldn't do anything. He was literally caught in his nightmare.
I thought I was having a nervous breakdown. And I would go see doctors, and they would say, nothing's wrong with you. It's the worst thing they could tell me was, nothing's wrong with you.
With the help of a psychologist, Donny finally had a diagnosis and a treatment plan.
It was panic attacks and social phobia. I was afraid to be in front of people. Now figure that one out. I'm on stage since I was 5 years old, and I'm afraid to be in front of the public.
The real healing began because of Debbie, Donny's wife of 18 years.
She said, go out there and do an average job. Be average. You don't have to be perfect tonight. Just tonight, be average. And I gave an average performance, but the audience loved it.
Debbie's advice helped Donny regain his love of performing. A surprise phone call from a Disney casting director was icing on the cake.
She calls me up and says, we're doing a movie called Mulan. And I thought to myself, I don't want to go through this again.
But Donny listened anyway.
She said, you got the part if you want it. I don't have to audition? She says, no, we recorded what you did for Hercules and it's exactly what we want. You got it if you want. I said, I'm there, baby, I'm there.
Donny dedicated his performance in the animated film to his children.
Each of my sons, 5 sons, they bring such joy into your life.
An appearance on a 1996 talk show reintroduced Donny to TV audiences in an unexpected way.
He came out and he was a little suspicious, like was I going to make fun of him because I had the doll, I had all of his records and the 45s.
I had no idea she was a fan of the 70s, and she had all the dolls and the albums and the scarves and the paraphernalia.
What he didn't know is that I was a member of his fan club. I used to have the purple socks. So he made a joke.
And plus the helicopter can't handle that much weight, so I...
I think Donny Osmond just insulted me. You just told me that I was chubby on national TV.
I didn't mean it.
You did. You said wait in the helicopter. Basically called me a big old pig, Don.
I didn't mean it.
So I said this stupid thing, and everybody took it as an insult.
He was very apologetic. He said he was sorry. He sent me flowers. But I just kept doing it on my show because it was a good runner, and we got our highest rating ever on the show that he came back.
Donny returned to the Rosie O'Donnell show to apologize. Marie was also a guest.
Let me fold this up.
Behind.
There you go, Donny.
Donny and Marie's appearance led to offers for their own show. They resisted.
Marie and I have always been approached since the old Donny Marie show went off the air. But nothing ever felt right because we wanted to pursue our own careers.
It took a conference call from a longtime friend to persuade the pair to consider reuniting.
I said, don't you want to do a show that'll be fun, that will alleviate your hard work schedule of travel all the time? And the deal was made.
I think timing was the biggest issue, and I think that it just felt like the right time.
In September 1998, the new Donny and Marie show premiered. Executive producer, Charlie Cook.
Whenever you start up a new show, you know, you certainly have apprehensions and you certainly hope for the best. And out of all the things they have done, this is the one format that Donny and Marie haven't done.
Although Donny and Marie grew up on television, they still had much to learn.
I'll be honest with you, Marie and I weren't that very good. We weren't good at all when we first got started because we were so stiff. And it's like we're trying so hard to be perfect that it took the heart and soul out of our show.
The siblings took steps to save the series.
We basically said, let's don't rehearse anymore. Let's just go out and be Donny and Marie, those 2 kids that played together when we were like 5 and 3 years old.
The changes worked, and by the second season, the show developed a loyal following.
What Donny proved a long time ago, maybe, is that he was a good talk show guest. What he proves now is he's a good talk show host.
More importantly, Donny was reunited with Marie.
I love working with him. He It's been very hard, long days. It's the most safe place because if I'm having a bad day, I lean on him because I know I can trust him. If he has a bad day, he knows he leans on me. I think it's been healing through all the years and whatever stuff went down as teenagers and careers and stuff that you go through. I think that it's been a really good place for both of us, and it's fun to be back on the air.
Coming up.
He's comfortable with the fact that he was Donny Osmond, and now he's Donny Osmond.
In a career that began at the age of 5, Donny Osmond graduated from child star to teen heartthrob to leading man. In early 2000, Osmond reprised his triumphant role in Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat for a home video release.
I think that the video of Joseph will go down to be a classic in its time.
During filming in London, Donny visited children at a local school. He received a very different reception from his teen idol days.
The headmaster said, "Boys and girls, I want you to meet Donny Osmond." And this little girl turned to her friend and said, "Donny Osmond? Is he still alive?" I thought, well, that puts it in perspective.
While Donny and Marie was canceled in June of 2000, Donny has learned to take such career bumps in stride.
He really has fought to stay in a position where he can keep doing what he likes to do.
He still has that same appeal. He's still as charming, and he's still as wholesome as you always wanted him to be.
Donny's now to a wonderful place in his life where he's achieved all of his goals.
He's done Broadway, he's done television certainly, a talk show. I think if he got the right part in a movie, he could be a movie star.
I have no idea where Donny Osmond's going to go, but I do know one thing for sure. He's never going to quit.
I look at him now, and he's in a really good place. He's comfortable with the fact that he was Donny Osmond, and now he's Donny Osmond.
You know, it is amazing when you think about it that some of the fans are still with me after 30 some odd years or something like that, and I'm very lucky in that respect.
Donny Osmond became a celebrity before he was in first grade.